obviously not the way you want to finish the match here, but just talk us through how you thought you were playing and the chat you had with Coco at the net afterwards as well.
Yeah, it's always very difficult to it's a difficult decision to retire from a match. I know no one likes winning like that, and no one likes losing like that. So, nevertheless, I'm really happy with how I played. I'm really happy with my performance, and I hope I can make the best out of the momentum.
Alex Eala just walked out of one of the biggest wins of her career and went straight to a press conference where she said exactly what was on her mind. No filters, no deflection, no boring athlete answers. Just a 20-year-old Filipina telling the world exactly how she got it done, and it was something else. After hearing everything Eala said in that press conference, do you think she has what it takes to go deep at Indian Wells and beyond? Drop your honest take in the comments. Let's set the stage properly.
Alex, it was such a big difference from your last match with Coco, the tempo from the beginning. What kind of a strategy did you implement to turn the game around and to stay on top of her? And what did you think you did super well today?
I think my focus was really was a big point of my match today, and my strategy, as well as the intensity in my legs and the intensity I was able to produce to be aggressive. Yeah, I took those learnings from the last match. I tried to do things differently, better on certain things I can control. I know that Coco is a great player, and she's really going to give you a hard time. So there's nothing much you can do about the other person playing well. So I tried to focus on what I could control.
Alex Eala just came off the court at Indian Wells after beating world number 4 Coco Gauff 6-2-0. A match that ended with Gauff retiring due to injury after just 55 minutes. That scoreline alone was already a statement. But then Eala walked into the post-match press conference, sat down, and proceeded to give one of the most composed, self-aware, and quietly confident interviews you'll hear from any athlete at any level. And people are just now starting to pay attention to what she actually said, because it wasn't generic. It wasn't the usual, I just gave it my all and the ball was falling for me today routine. Eala was specific. She was honest. She was measured. And a few times she said things that cut straight to the point in a way that made it very clear this is not a player who is just happy to be here. The first thing she addressed was the elephant in the room, the retirement. Gauff stopped the match in the second set while already down a set and broken in her first service game. And a lesser player might have just said, "I'm glad I got the win," and moved on. Eala didn't do that. She acknowledged directly that nobody likes winning or losing that way. Those were her exact words. No one likes winning like that, and no one likes losing like that. She said it clearly. She said it honestly, and then she moved forward. That kind of emotional intelligence from a 20-year-old athlete is not something you manufacture. Either you have the maturity to hold two things at once: genuine happiness about your own performance and genuine empathy for your opponent, or you don't. Eala has it.
Have introduced a lot of people to the sport of tennis and coming to tournaments. What do you think tournaments can do to help sort of encourage new fans who are coming into a sport that they might not know about but are sort of interested in a specific player and want to sort of learn more about the sport?
Well, I love that it's not just myself that have been bringing in different and new demographics into the audience, into the sport. Personally, I think one of the ways, I'm not saying that I know everything, but I think one of the ways is for the tennis community in general to develop in certain countries where tennis is not as big as other sports, I would say. So speaking from my experience, tennis has grown so much in my country, right? And I think that really adds to the fact that that they come and they support me, because tennis is so popular now.
And then she made sure you understood she wasn't just happy because Gauff retired. She was happy because of how she played. That distinction matters. She said she was really happy with her performance and that she hoped to make the best of the momentum. Translation: the win counts, the ranking points count, but what she's actually carrying forward is the level of tennis she produced. That's a mindset that separates players who win occasionally from players who build something lasting. Then came the question about mental techniques. And this is where it got interesting. The interviewer asked what specific mental techniques she uses to stay focused in high-pressure matches. And Eala's answer was blunt. She said there's no specific technique. She said she's gained experience over the years of how to handle those situations and that it's a learning process. She talked about focusing on the next thing she has to do, not thinking about the bigger picture and controlling what she can control.
Are developing genuine interest in the sport. Another example of what I'm saying is in Australian Open, there were 4 women from Southeast Asia in the main draw, so that attracted, so it was Lanlana, Mai, Janice, and myself, so that attracted another demographic that maybe was not so present in other years. Or another example is my friend Zeynep. She's from Turkey. She's been pulling in a lot of Turkish people and from the Middle East. So I think if tennis is able to develop in those countries, as it will naturally grow the sport and naturally produce high level competitors.
Now that might sound simple, and in a way it is, but here's the thing. The players who actually win big matches at big tournaments are almost always the ones who have figured out exactly that. Not some complicated mental framework, not a 10-step visualization routine. Just focus on the next point, control what you can, and trust the work you've put in. Eala has clearly figured that out earlier than most. The most tactically interesting part of the press conference came when she was asked directly about the difference between this match against Gauff and their previous meeting in Dubai 2 weeks ago, where Gauff beat her in the quarterfinals. The interviewer wanted to know what changed. What was the strategy? What did she do differently? Eala's answer was sharp. She said her focus was a big part of it. The intensity in her legs, meaning her movement, her positioning, her ability to stay aggressive physically, was a key factor. And she said she took the learnings from the Dubai match and tried to do things differently, better in the areas she could control. She acknowledged that Gauff is a great player who is going to give you a hard time regardless of what you do. So, she stopped trying to figure out Gauff and started focusing entirely on her own game. That is a tactically mature approach. When you're playing a top 5 player, there is a version of match preparation where you obsess over the opponent, their patterns, their weaknesses, their tendencies, and that has value. But there's a ceiling to that approach because great players adjust. What doesn't adjust is your own execution. Eala figured out that the biggest gap between the Dubai loss and the Indian Wells win wasn't about Gauff. It was about Eala's own intensity, focus, and aggression. She fixed those things, and the result was a 6-2, 2-0 scoreline before the match was even over. Then someone asked about growing the sport, specifically about how tournaments can help new fans who are coming in because of a specific player but don't yet know much about tennis. And Eala's answer here was genuinely thoughtful and also a little bit of a flex without being a flex. She talked about how she's not the only one bringing in new demographics to tennis. She made the point that tennis growing in specific countries naturally produces fans. Because when people see someone from their own country succeeding on a global stage, they develop genuine interest in the sport, not just in the player. She used the Australian Open as an example where 4 women from Southeast Asia were in the main draw at the same time, herself, Lana, and 2 others. That kind of representation pulls in audiences that weren't there before. She also mentioned her friend Zeynep, who is from Turkey and has been bringing in Turkish fans and fans from the Middle East. The point Eala was making is that the organic way to grow tennis globally is to develop the sport in countries where it isn't yet dominant, and that when you do, the interest follows naturally because the players come from those places and the fans show up for them. That's a sophisticated point about sports development that most press conference answers about growing the game never get close to. And Eala made it casually in the middle of a post-match interview on the same day she beat the world number 4. Then came the Miami question. A reporter brought up last year's Miami Open run, which was at the time IA's biggest result and the tournament that really put her on the map for casual tennis fans outside the Philippines. The question was about what she took from that experience and how it applies now. Her answer was honest in a way that was almost surprising. She called the Miami run the spark that lit the fire. She said she learned a lot from that week and will always remember it that way. But then she immediately pivoted. She said so many things have happened between Miami and now that have added to her growth. And the biggest thing in her own words is maturity, experience. Consistently surrounding herself with high-level competition and high-level players, pushing herself to find her limits and then go past them. That answer is important because it shows she's not living in Miami. Some players have a big result and spend the next year trying to recreate it. Eala treated Miami as a starting point, not a peak. And the fact that she's now standing in the round of 16 at Indian Wells, having just beaten a Grand Slam champion, suggests that framing was correct. The last notable moment in the press conference was when she was asked about her next match against Linda Noskova of the Czech Republic, and she was completely transparent. She said she hadn't thought about it yet because she had literally just gotten off the court. But then she talked about Noskova as an amazing player, powerful, experienced for her age, and said she was excited because it was her first fourth round at Indian Wells. She said she was going in with good preparation and a lot of motivation. That combination, excitement and preparation, is exactly the right energy, not overconfidence, not nervousness, just a player who knows she belongs on that stage and is ready to compete. And then at the end of the press conference, before any other questions came in, Eala smiled and said it in Filipino, a shout-out back home to her people on International Women's Day from a tennis court in California. That moment matters not just because it's culturally meaningful, though it absolutely is. It matters because it shows that Eala carries everything at once. The tactical intelligence, the emotional maturity, the competitive fire, and the awareness of what her success means to the people watching from back home. That's a rare combination. Most athletes at 20 are still figuring out one of those things. Eala seems to have a handle on all of them. The Dubai loss was 2 weeks ago. Now she's in the Indian Wells round of 16. Her biggest fourth round at this tournament with momentum, confidence, and a press conference performance that showed exactly why the tennis world is starting to take this very seriously. Noskova is next, and based on everything Eala said in that room, she's already thinking about how to win that one, too. Alex Eala beat Coco Gauff, handled a full press conference with more composure than most veterans, and still found time to send a message home in Filipino on International Women's Day at Indian Wells. The story just keeps getting better. If you're watching this run happen in real time, hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes.